Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 346. Hope everyone is doing good. I'm just a minute late. Can't believe that, but it happens. I was on the phone with a buddy of mine a while ago doing some questions for some candidates that I'm going to be interviewing this week, and just want to make sure everything's asked in a proper sequence and stuff, that everyone has a fair shake at their questioning, interrogation. No, questioning. All right, but this is about Harker Heights and Killeen city councils and mayor races. All right, so thank y'all very much for tuning in today. Let's see here. Thank y'all very much. Don't forget, if you're watching this and you're not a follower of the JP8 Report, click that follow button, please, and then give us a like. Smash that thumbs up button, and then you can chat with us on the not with us, with me, but also I have Rob. He's my I still haven't got an answer for him yet, but he does the hall monitoring in there. Just engage us on the chat, the live chat. I can talk to y'all while I'm chatting, or if I can type out a quick response for you. But Rob, he'll energize with you on the chat, which is cool. And then also we have the Rumble wallet. Also, it's on my screen over here. That if you want to give a tip, if you want, we use the Rumble wallet, and if I get a chance to read, do an ad read this afternoon. I will usually I read the Rumble wallet because it's worth it. All right. Well, thank y'all very much for tuning in today. Lots of news here, and I'm thinking I'm going to have rollover for tomorrow morning. But there's some pretty good stuff on there. Pretty sad stuff. The seventh casualty from the Operation Iran. It's still a war to me. Anytime someone's shooting back at you, I got enough combat time to realize when a war is a war. All right, it's a war. I don't care what people are saying. If y'all disagree with me, put it in the chat. But I got 3 combat tours. I got shot at 2 of the 3 times. I know what war is, right? I know what casualties look like also. If you're not at war, you're not going to have casualties. So let's see. The first is Texas 190. Okay, and then we'll go to America 250. I just want to show you Texas 190. Let me make sure I get the right one. There we go. All right. So this is what happened 190 years ago today. And you're like, what in the world is that? That, my friends, is the flag that was hoisted up at Goliad. And Goliad is a garrison almost on the Gulf of America toward Victoria, I believe. And it was Colonel James Fannin took about 500 soldiers and took the place right after the fall of the Alamo. All right. So this is what happened 190 years ago. They held the mission until March 17th, I believe, is when it was captured. Okay, March 17th to March 20th, but that day is coming, and then March 27th was the massacre. Okay, but wanted to show you that. All right, so the next is okay, just America 250. All righty. Boy, those last second phone calls kind of throw you off tilt, but we'll get it. We'll get it through. This morning I was reading about some of this letter from George Washington to John Hancock. It's in the midst of they're preparing to end the siege in Boston, and they're reinforcing Dorchester Heights. if I could get Lynette in here, that would be great. So she could talk a little bit about Boston. Um, but evidently the enemy noticed, or the British noticed that uh, the Americans were reinforcing Dorchester Heights to be able to engage the British. And I think it's General Howe is making preparations to evac Boston because they noticed the reinforced positions. And that happens. That did happen on March 17th. So this is a letter toward John Hancock from George Washington. We read several paragraphs this morning. I'm going to pick it up to where I left off. If I've got to finish it off tomorrow morning, I will. All right. So give me a little bit of latitude on reading this, and we'll go into the news of the day, including the identification of an American casualty that happened in Saudi Arabia the other day due to a drone. Okay. Um, hold on just a second. I am ready. Okay, Rob, you're in charge of the chat. Here I go. When the enemy first discovered our works in the morning, they seemed to be in a great confusion, and from their movements to have intended an attack, it is much to be wished that it had been made. The event, I think, must have been fortunate and nothing less than success and victory on our side, as our officers and men appeared impatient for the appeal and to have possessed the most animated sentiments and determined solutions. On Tuesday evening, a considerable number of their troops embarked on board of their transports and fell down to the castle, where part of them landed before dark. One or two of the vessels got aground and were fired at by our people at a field piece, but without any damage. What the design and embarkation and landing, I have not been able to learn. It would seem that as if they meant to attack, it is most probable that if they make one of our works at Dorchester at this time, that they will go to first to the castle and then come from thence. If there was such a design, a violent storm that night, in which lasted until 8 o'clock the next day, rendered the execution of it impractical. It carried one or two of the vessels ashore, which has since gone off. In case the ministerial troops had an attempt to dislodge our men from Dorchester Hill, and the number detached upon the occasion had been so great to have afforded a probability of successful attack being made upon Boston on a signal given from Roxbury for that purpose, agreeable to a settled concerted plan, 4,000 chosen men would have held in readiness, where to have embarked at the mouth of the Cambridge River in two divisions, the first under the command of General Sullivan, the second under Brigadier General Greene. The whole would have been commanded by Major General Putnam. The first division was to land at the Powder House and gain possession of Beacon Hill and Mount Wardham. The second at Barton's Point, or a little south of it, and after securing that post, to join the other division and force the enemy's gates and works at the neck for letting in the Roxbury troops. 3 floating batteries would have proceeded and gone in front of the other boats and kept up heavy fire on that part of the town where our men were to land. How far our views would have succeeded had an opportunity offered for attempting the execution, it's impossible for me to say. Nothing less than experiment could determine that with precision. The plan was thought to be well digested, and as far as I could have judged from the cheerfulness and alterity which distinguished the officers and men who were to engage in the enterprise, I had reasons to hope for a favorable and happy issue. The militia, which were ordered in from the adjacent towns, brought with them 3 days' provision, and they were only called upon to act under the idea of an attack being immediately made, and were all discharged this afternoon. I beg to leave to remind Congress that 3 major generals are essential and necessary for this army, and that by General Lee's being called from thence to command in Canada, that left the division is the left division is without one. I hope they will fill up that vacancy by an appointment of another general. Thomas is the first brigadier, stands fair in point and reputation that is esteemed of a brave and good officer. If he is promoted, there will be a vacancy in the brigadier generals, which will be necessary to supply by an appointment by some other gentleman that shall be agreeable to Congress. But justice requires me to mention William Thompson of the Rifle Regiment is the first colonel in this department, and as far as I had opportunity of judging, is a good officer and a man of courage. I have said of these 2 gentlemen, I conceive to be my duty, at the same time acknowledging whatever promotions are made will be satisfactory to me. All right. And we're going to stop there. All right. Because there's much news. So tomorrow when I pick this back up, even though it'll be March 10th, it starts off with March 9th, which is the day. And there's 2 full pages, right? So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Definitely some good information coming out about that. All right, let me reset. Here we go. Let me get this back up and moving. All right. Thank you all very much for paying attention with me for a little bit, talking about the American Revolution and the Texas Revolution. Let's see, my next thing I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about this first before I get to the rest of Iran. All right. So, media. There we go. All right. So, right now, we are going to talk about Iran and the casualty, right? This is Operation Epic Fury. All right. So, this is the area of operations everything's taking place in. And then, just so you know, we've had those 1 officer, 3 NCOs, another officer, a chief warrant officer, and the guy on the far right is Sergeant Pennington, airborne soldier. He's a signal soldier. I believe he's a 25 Bravo. The 7th U.S. military personnel to have been killed in the war with Iran has been identified as a member of the Army's 1st Space Brigade who was stationed in Saudi Arabia. His name is Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington, 26 of Glendale, Kentucky, and he died on Sunday from injuries he sustained a week earlier during Iran's retaliatory attack on Prince Sultan Air Base, and I believe that's in Riyadh. All right? So keep all these guys' families in your prayers. All right? So let me put this away so I don't lose it. All right, Iran update. Hold on just a second. Make sure I get myself ready here. Yep, there we go. Okay, Iran update. Okay, so as you know, we're in Operation Epic Fury. And then we have 32,000 Americans have been returned to the U.S. The U.S. ordered all non-essential personnel to leave Saudi Arabia. Short-term oil spike is over $100 a barrel. I haven't seen recently what it is this morning, but it is over $100. When the president and his people said it will go down quickly. Okay. Uh, Yesterday, U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz shut down the NBC reporter. I think it was on Meet the Press, and they were talking about how President Trump started this war with Iran, and um, Mike Waltz shut him down, and was like, "Hey, he didn't start this war. This war started 47 years ago. He's finishing this war," which is right. The Hutus in Yemen have threatened involvement into this conflict. They have yet, this was as of Saturday evening, they have yet to get involved. Hopefully they know better. A Quds Force commander defected to the U.S., not to the U.S., to Israel, and he is in Israel right now. And at the same time, five Quds Force commanders in Lebanon were killed. The IDF says Hezbollah will pay a heavy price for the Israeli soldiers that were killed this weekend. The U.S. told Great Britain that thanks but no thanks about what happened in between them and Diego Garcia in England about using the ports. They waited till everything kicked off and everything was going good for Israel and the United States before they said, "Oh, you can use our air bases and our airspace now." Spain still hasn't opened up their airspace to U.S. aircraft, so President's a little perturbed about that. Looks like we're doing just fine without using the facilities, but they finally open them up so we can land B1s and B2s and stuff there to prepare for a shorter flight to Iran and back instead of a 37-hour round trip ticket, right? Um, the um, the next thing that was going along with that is, well, before I get to that, I just wanted to give you, I won't put up their slide, but my normal sponsor I do every day is the Dalmatian. And I told you all over the last week that they're closed for like the next month or two. They put an update out on Facebook earlier that Steven, one of the old owners, uh, he had surgery and that he's out of ICU and he's in recovery. So if y'all been praying for them, thank you very much. He will be just fine. He just needs his recovery and time before they get back to doing all the work. Okay. Just want to give you a quick update on the Dalmatian before we went forward. Okay. So back to Iran. The Council of Experts, they chose a new spiritual leader for the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it's the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini is his name. Is the new spiritual leader, and if you've heard his name before, he is the son of the recently departed Ali Khomeini. Um, he he's out looking for his 72 versions, which he ain't gonna find any. Um, let's see. Iran's Assembly of Experts has elected um, Mojtaba Khomeini, uh, the son of the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, as the country's new Supreme Leader, according to Iranian state television. Um, Mojtaba Khomeini, 56 years old, he's a year younger than me, is the second eldest son of Ali Khomeini, and was born in Mashdad in 1969. His early childhood coincided with his early rise as a revolutionary figurehead opposing the monarchy of the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. After the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Ali Khomeini moved from a dissident cleric to a senior government official holding key posts in the regime, including deputy defense minister. The family moved to Mashtad to Tehran, where Machtoba attended Alvi High School, which is a school that is known for educating members of Iran's political and religious elite. There received a general and religious education. I'm reading this from, what do you call it, Fox News, okay? In 1987. In 1989, after the death of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, not Khomeini, Khomeini was appointed supreme leader. That same year, Maqtaba began his formal clerical studies in Tehran and studied under his father as well as Mohammad Hashmi. This is more than I've ever wanted to know about the Ayatollah, who later served as Iran's Chief Justice. Over the years, Maqtaba has been constantly seen with his father and was also regarded as an influential figure behind the scenes. In an Axios interview last week, when he was asked about reports suggesting Maqtaba was the new supreme leader, President Donald Trump said, Khomeini's son is unacceptable to me. We want someone who will bring harmony and peace to Iran. Trump also said, they are wasting time. Khomeini's son is a lightweight. I have to be involved in employment, like with the Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, which turned out to be pretty good employment. In 2019, the U.S. sanctioned Maqtaba under Executive Order 13867. The U.S. Treasury Department stated he had been representing the supreme leader in an official capacity despite never being elected or appointed to a government position aside from work with his dad or father. So what do y'all think about him being appointed as the new Ayatollah in Iran of the Shia populace? All right. Any comments, concerns, gripes, moans, groans, complaints? I think he's a dead man walking. I really do think he's a dead man walking. All right. So we got that taken care of. The next is, if y'all heard about what happened on Saturday evening in New York City, there was a demonstration by white supremacists, an actual white supremacist, demonstrating his anti-Islamic feelings outside New York City's mayor's house in Gracie Mansion, I think is what they call it. But while they were there was 25 of them. They do have the First Amendment right to be able to protest, but 125 counter-protesters showed up to protest him being able to do his protest. And one of the guys several have been arrested. One of them was an 18-year-old that lit an IED, an actual IED, an improvised explosive device. They showed it on video, and matter of fact, let me show you the picture. That's him right there, 18 years old. He lit it and it dropped it and then ran, but the thing did not detonate it, but it was actual explosive. As you know, this is from the New York Post, right? But yeah, it showed one NYPD guy that actually jumped over a barrier and ran after and tackled the guy. This is a pretty good video. Hold on just a second. Give me a second here. Where's the New York Post on here? Refresh. Where is he? Okay, so the ISIS-inspired extremists who tried to detonate IEDs outside the Gracie Mansion wanted to outdo the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, according to a newly released federal complaint. Investigators asked accused wannabe terrorist Emir Balat following his arrest Saturday if he was familiar with the deadly Boston bombing and whether that was what he was alleged to accomplish and hoped to accomplish. No, even bigger. It was only 3 deaths, he replied, according to a 10-page complaint unsealed in Manhattan federal court Monday. Uh, both are charged with tossing. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back. There was someone. Balat is 18 years old, and 19-year-old Ibrahim Kayumi were hoping for more carnage, the Fed said. Both are charged with tossing IEDs at anti-Muslim protesters outside Gracie Mansion. According to the complaint, Kayumi handed Balat one device which was packed with a volatile explosive known as Mother of Satan, which he hurled at anti-Muslim protesters at a rally organized by right-wing agitator Jake Lang, which I never knew that guy's name until yesterday. Balat dropped the second bomb near a group of NYPD cops. The Fed said, fortunately, neither of the homemade devices exploded. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, called the botched bombing an ISIS-inspired act of terrorism at Monday morning press conference. The two extremists both drove to New York City from an upscale family home in Pennsylvania to carry out the alleged attack. Why is it always rich kids that do stuff like this? Sources with knowledge of the investigation told the Post that both suspects had traveled overseas in recent years, including Istanbul and Turkey, known hotspots for ISIS training. Blatantly, Balat defiantly flashed an ISIS hand signal as he was led out of Manhattan precinct and turned over to federal agents Monday morning, which is the date, right? Both Balat and Kayumi were arraigned on similar charges in Manhattan federal court later on Monday. All right. So I showed you the slide. Okay, good. So a couple of things about this. That hand gesture is like holding your index finger up is an international sign that you're affiliated with ISIS, okay, which is a Sunni group, not a Shia group. And then also they handed the two teenagers, adult teenagers, over to federal authorities. Now that is a good thing because it's within the jurisdiction of Alvin Bragg if they stayed on state charges. They're held with the FBI, which means the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, I believe is the name of it, that will be taking charge of this case. These guys are under federal charges. They will be held in federal court. So they'll get federal justice instead of Alvin Bragg justice, which is none of the above. All right. So these guys are going away for a long time. All right. So, just because the mayor of New York is Muslim doesn't mean other Muslims don't hate him because they were going against what he wanted. Matter of fact, he didn't even understand what was going on because he put I'm talking about Mandani was talking about an X he put out. He was talking about this Lang guy, which I've never heard of a day in my life, but he was condemning his actions, right? And went in right into the IEDs, but didn't mention the fact that counter protesters that were Muslim themselves were throwing the IEDs at these protesters. So he made it look like in his write-up that it was Lane's group that were doing the IEDs and not this Muslim group that was doing the IEDs. He's in custody. Hopefully this political violence comes to an end because it's too much happening. Too many liberal organizations and protesting groups are involved in political violence. It's got to cease. It's got to really cease. All right. Um, Next is about the president. And let's see, do I need to read any more about this? We're already at 12:31. I'm barely making through. Have I made myself clear? Who is in the chat? Let's see. Let's see the American flag. Okay. Thanks, Rob. I'll put an American flag up for you to get the ball rolling. There we go. Yeah. If put an American flag up if you're proud that these two teenagers are under American custody and not New York State custody. All right. So, yeah, we're done with that one. All right. The next one is the one I want to talk about, the Save America Act. All right. Let me see. I need to go to my next slide. Oh. Yep, there we go. All right. Before I read this, I'm going to show you the Truth Social that the president wrote. All right. Okay. So it was put out yesterday. Great job by hardworking Scott Pressler on Fox and Friends talking about using the filibuster or targeting filibuster in order to pass the Save America Act, an 88% issue with all American voters. It must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else, must go to the front of the line. As president, I will not sign another bills. I will not sign other bills until this is passed, and not the watered down version. Go for the gold. Must show voter ID and proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, and travel. No men and women's sports. No transgender mutilations for children. Do not fail. President Donald J. Trump. Did that make sense? Because it made sense to me. President means business. No legislation will be signed until the Save America Act, not the Save Act, the Save America Act is passed and sent to him for signature. The president is vowing to reject signing any new bills into law until the Save America Act is passed by the Senate. A tall order with just 53 Republicans and a 60-vote filibuster threshold, a high hurdle. Great job by hardworking Scott Pressler on Fox and Friends, talking about the filibuster, in order to pass the Save America Act, an 88% issue with all voters. Trump wrote Sunday morning on Truth Social, and must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else, must go to the front of the line. A vow to halt all new signings is a new one coming from the White House, and notable because the Senate hesitation to follow the urgings of Senator Mike Lee to force the Senate to bring the bill forward through a talking filibuster. He writes, as he did on Truth Social, I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed. Trump post continued, and not the watered down version. Go for the gold, must show voter ID and proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for military, illness, disability, or travel. No men and women's sports. No transgender mutilation for children. Do not fail. While Senate Majority Leader John Thune has publicly acknowledged a willingness to bring the vote on Save America Act before the upper chamber, there is hesitation within the Republican Party about forcing the talking filibuster under the current Senate rules. The talking filibuster would force Democrats to speak on the floor to argue against voter ID, position widely supported by Americans, as Trump noted, but it would also force Republicans to sit in attendance with the quorum. That's your job, guys. That's your jobs. That has been rebuked by longtime Senate GOP veterans as something that would waste time. What would waste time is you not doing your job and wasting the government tax dollars. You want the money, but you don't want the responsibility. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has promised to bring the Save America Act to the Senate floor, but there remains some GOP hesitation on forcing the talking filibuster. Then do away with the complete cloture rule and be done. Former Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell, the turtle, has publicly opposed to forcing a talking filibuster because of the time constraints it would force on the Senate GOP. He remains one of the few Republicans not signing on to support Save America Act. Another development that clouds the Save America Act filibuster is recent appointment of Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican Oklahoma, to serve as the next DHS secretary, perhaps resigning from the Senate by the end of March. Fox News reached out to Mullen's office for comment. Mitch McConnell offered declined to comment on Trump's True Social vow to block all new signings amid standoff with DHS funding that the government partial shutdown and the Senate was sitting on the House passed Save America Act. We're going to have a vote on this, but in terms of what the president is willing to sign, Maria, we need to get the Department of Homeland Security funded. The Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso told Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures from Fox News. The Democrats, okay, I'm not even going to read that because all it is political talk. Getting 60 votes, because I heard the interview on Fox News yesterday. It's just a bunch of BS political talking like, okay, let's have the vote. Let's have the filibuster. Let's have the vote. All right? Getting 60 votes in the Senate is unlikely with just Senator John Fetterman, the lone Democrat, vote to side with the Senate GOP to Save America Act. Let me put it to you like this. In 1975, the Senate, which was in Democrat hands, reduced the threshold of the filibuster from 66 votes down to 60 votes, and they still passed legislation. So, what is the deal with getting the 60 votes? Something has to be done. If you got to do away with the filibuster to make this country work, we got to do away with it. There are too many extremists that are unwilling to work to pass legislation. Democrats are trying so many things. I think the Democrats are against so many of the things that I think would help this country. They'd rather stand with illegal immigrant criminals than with the safety and security of the American people. I want to get the SAVE Act on the floor. I want to have a vote. That was from Mr. Barrasso. That's the next step. That's the next step on this need to get the Department of Homeland Security open and funded, he continues. The Democrats are bowing to the liberal left, the people that want to eliminate ICE, the people that want to open borders again, and the people that really aren't looking out for the best interests of the American people. As the president said in the State of the Union, it is the first duty of the American government to protect the American citizens, not illegal aliens. But that's not one single Democrat stood up that when every American stood and cheered loudly. He's the Senate whip also. All right. So, are you? Bondi announces charges on IED incident in New York. Yeah, I was just talking about that, Rob. They're in federal custody. They're going to go to federal prison. 18 years old, threw his life away. Unbelievable. And the fact that these kids actually flew to Turkey, unbelievable. How did they get away with that? What, they flew to Turkey and went across the border into Syria and got training on how to make IEDs, then flew back to the United States through Turkey? Well, where's the radar? I know this didn't happen in, well, anything's possible these days. It is. Um, I really do think that um, I really do think that we need to do something about the way our Congress is uh, being led, um, both through the Speaker and through the Majority Leader of the Senate. These guys, they're so used to working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and flying back to district on Friday, and then flying back on Monday, and then go to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And these guys get paid over $10,000 a month to be our legislators, right? To be our senator and congressman. We have in my district, we have an 84-year-old congressman. Uh, we never see him out and about. So as far as we know, he stays in D.C. the whole time, hobnobbing, I guess, instead of coming back and meeting with constituents about what's really happening in Congress and be answerable. Yeah, I know he won his primary last week. He won it. There was no runoff. He finished with like 57% of the vote. Got very lucky in my eyes. He got very, very lucky. But we got people that want to stick with the status quo. We have too many Republicans that rather argue as a minority party than to make decisions and get stuff accomplished as a majority party. And my statement to them is that if you don't want to stand up and do what's right and make the right decisions to eliminate your little political arguments that make things right for American citizens, you need to leave Congress. Okay? This isn't a job with job security. This is a public service you do, and you get elected every 2 years or every 6 years. Flat out. Right? Uh, Next is, it should be the next slide down. Nope. All right. So the next is about a story that I read, and I don't have any uh, articles from the newspaper. I just read what I saw on True Social. So everybody saw the picture of the Iranian women national soccer team. Evidently, they were flashing some type of SOS signal that showing that they were in distress. They did not want to go back to Iran because it was threatened that they would be killed if they did. Uh, well, Australia is not listening. Australia is intending to send them back to Australia. I mean, not Australia, to Iran, where they'll be killed. I got this for you from True Social. The president said asylum, right? This story is absolutely insane. Senior Iranian regime propaganda threatened to have members of the Iranian women's football team killed because they didn't sing the national anthem at a game in Australia this week. The women were then basically under armed guard in Australia by Iranian officials to prevent them escaping. They were even seen making SOS signals on the team bus. The Australian government has inexplicably dragged their feet on saving them right up to the last minute, last possible moment. 5 girls just escaped and claimed asylum. The rest face a flight home tomorrow on certain persecution. This is the same Australian government which wants to import literal ISIS members from Syrian prison camps. They spent the past month trying to get ISIS brides back on planes to Australia, but they had to be dragged kicking and screaming to protect 5 women fleeing Islamic persecution. There's more. Hold on. One more. And then the president said this: Australia is making a terrible humanitarian mistake by allowing the Iran national women's soccer team to be forced back to Iran, where they most likely will be killed. Don't do it, Mr. Prime Minister. Give asylum. The U.S. will take them if you don't. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, he means business. He means business. So if they won't do it, we will, right? So what do we look at? Any other announcements so far? We're more than halfway through. We're 3/4 of the way through the podcast. Wow, like I said, I'm definitely going to have rollover. Y'all like this next story I'm going to talk about? It's about gun control. One of the favorite subjects of John Cornyn, who's running for re-election in Texas. But if you're watching, please click the follow button to become a follower of the podcast and click that like button, right? And then Rob's out here chiming in on the live chat, looking for some more responses and stuff. Engage him. Now, what I'm about to talk about is crazy. And there's a law in Washington, D.C. that a resident in D.C. filed a lawsuit on. In 2022, the city council in Washington, D.C. Passed a new law or ordinance. I don't know what they call it in D.C., but they passed a new law outlawing any magazine with over the capacity of 10 rounds. So you can't have 15 or 20 or 30 round magazines anymore. You can only have 10 or less. And it's a crime if you get caught with it, right? So someone filed a lawsuit, and it went to federal district court, got appealed up to the D.C. Court of Appeals, right? They Thursday evening declared it unconstitutional. They do not have the right to restrict the capacity of magazines for weapons. An appeals court, and I agree, I fully agree. It's our right to have our magazines and our weapons as part of the Second Amendment. An appeals court struck down a local law, okay, it's a law, in the District of Columbia that banned gun magazines containing more than 10 bullets, describing the measure as unconstitutional. If you agree with what they ruled on, give me an American flag in the chat. That is a very good ruling for all Second Amendment enthusiasts themselves. Let me see here. Refresh. All right. So the ruling Thursday came from the District of Columbia's Court of Appeals, also reversed the conviction of Tyree Benson, who was taken in custody in 2022 for being in possession of a handgun with a magazine that contained 30 bullets, according to the New York Times. Magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition are ambiguous in our country, or overwhelming, numbering in the hundreds of millions, accounting for about half of the magazines in the hands of our citizenry. And they come standard with the most popular firearms sold in America today. Judge Joshua Beal wrote on behalf of the 2-judge majority on a 3-judge panel. Because these magazines are common and ambiguous, use of law-abiding citizens across the country. We agree with Benson that, and the United States, that the district's outright ban on them violates the Second Amendment. This appeal presents the Second Amendment challenge to the district's ban on firearm magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Appellate Tyree Benson argues that the ban contravenes the Second Amendment so that his conviction for violating it should be vacated, Deal also wrote. The United States was prosecuted Benson in the underlying case and defended the ban's constitutionality in the initial round of appeal briefing, now concedes that this ban violates the Second Amendment. The District of Columbia, which also is party to this appeal, continues to defend the constitutionality of this ban. We therefore reverse Benson's conviction for violating the district's magazine ban, capacity ban, and because Benson could not have registered, procured a license to carry, or lawful possessed ammunition for his firearm, that it was equipped with a magazine capable of holding more than 10 rounds. We likewise reverse the convictions for possession of an unregistered firearm, carrying a pistol without a license, and unlawful possession of ammunition, Deal said. Chief Judge Anna Blackburn Rigby, the judge who dissented, the majority bases its common usage analysis on ownership statistics that show only that magazines holding 11, 15, or 17 rounds of ammunition are in common use. The majority, however, of over 90% of my magazines are 30-round magazines. I don't know what she's saying. The majority, however, fails to contend with the reality that statistics do not support conclusion that the particularly lethal 30-round magazines, such as the one Mr. Benson possessed here, is in common use for self-defense. It simply is not, she said. Hold on just a second here. All right, I'm going to take my glasses off. The District of Columbia can now appeal the decision to the Supreme Court or ask the local appeals court to take another look at the ruling with a larger panel of judges, according to the Times. The newspaper also reported that in a previous case, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia upheld the constitutionality of the local law surrounding gun magazine sizes. It's now unclear how the two rulings will interact. And there's no other part of this, whether Judge Piero will appeal this to the Supreme Court or let it stand. Knowing Judge Piero, she will let it stand, and all those convictions and laws will be overturned. All right? Congratulations, Mr. Benson. You're a free man. That's good. All right. Jesse Jackson. If y'all did not know, Jesse Jackson, his dad died last week, and they had the funeral the other day. And just so you know, the only three former presidents of four presidents that actually showed up for the funeral, Clinton and Obama and Biden are the only former presidents that showed up for the funeral of Jesse Jackson Sr. Jesse Jackson Jr. did not like that because he didn't like it because of the fact that it was not just that they were the only Democrats that showed up, but the fact is that they used his dad for their political banter, right? Do I have the chance? Hold on. Okay. Before I go into this, I want to read this one quick ad so we can get this done for Rumble today. Okay. Okay. So stand by. Here we go. They can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your cards. Decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big thanks to financial institutions have total control and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more than ever in introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet that's real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators that actually believe in you, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. That is a credit line they can. This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financially sovereignty in the difference between is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. All right. Thank y'all for letting me read that. I use Rumble Wallet. You can find it on iTunes and Google Play. You'll hear me talk about the Rumble Wallet and tipping. That's how you tip me to help support my program and stuff, right? All right. Thank y'all very much for letting me do that. So back to Jesse Jackson. All right. So during his father's memorial service on Saturday, Jesse Jackson Jr. offered sharp rebuke to the tributes given by former Democrat presidents Clinton, Obama, and Biden, noting that the trio shared one thing in common. They really didn't know his father. Yesterday, I listened for several hours for three United States presidents who did not know Jesse Jackson. He said on Saturday, the Reverend's son called out the idea that his father's life wasn't defined by the political order, but by a commitment to those who were marginalized, which is true. He stated a tense relationship with the political order, not because the presidents were white or black, but the demands of our message, the demands of speaking for the least of these, those who are disinherited, the damned, the dispossessed, the disrespected, demanded not Democrats or Republican solutions, but demanded a consistent prophetic voice that at no point in time sold us out as a people, Jackson continued. Jesse Jackson died at the age of 84 on February 17th in Chicago. Following the death of Reverend Jackson, his son held a press conference where he requested politics to be kept out of the services and the focus be kept on Jackson's legacy. I do not bring your politics out of respect to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the life he lived to these ongoing services. Come respectful and come to say thank you. But these ongoing services are welcome to all, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, right wing, and left wing, because his life is broad enough to cover the full spectrum of what it means to be an American. That's the best thing I ever heard Jesse Jackson Jr. ever say. But he's saying right about his dad. I didn't like how he stood politically, but I liked how he stood up for the black population inside the United States. Because for too many years, they've been subjected to you have to vote Democrat or you're not going to get anything. They held them as servants to the freedom where they could excel and be a productive American that has nothing to hold them back. That's what the Democrats did to the black people in our country, right? Uh, Among the notable attendees paying respects to Chicago for the late Reverend Jackson, longtime civil rights leader, two-time Democrat president, and founder of the Rainbow Push, was former Vice President Kamala Harris. She did the same thing. Hillary Clinton was there, the Reverend Al Sharpton, which he shouldn't be called a reverend anyway, and Gavin Newsom was there too. Obama, Clinton, and Biden also spoke. Obama reportedly took aim at President Donald Trump during his speech, saying, "Every day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions." Didn't Jesse Jackson Jr. say no politics at his dad's funeral? They disrespected the memory of Jesse Jackson. Just doing that. Bill Clinton called Jackson a friend and recalled his conversation with the Reverend during his impeachment. Biden told mourners at Reverend Jackson's memorial service Friday that he was he was a lot smarter than most of y'all, and pointed to a remark that stood out as tribute to the late civil rights leader. Biden made a comment about recounting how he was mocked as a child for his stutter and how speech impediments often make him look for a lack of intelligence. Overall, the memorial largely focused on Jackson's legacy as a civil rights leader who helped shape the modern Democrat Party and broaden political participation in the United States. He was right. He wanted all of them to keep politics out of it and talk about how he tried to energize the black population to be better, to be more active in politics, to take charge of their future, which is right. All right. I know a lot of conservatives that are black. So the fact is, if you're black, you don't have to speak to be in the Democrat Party. You can be Republican and live your life. We got to, here in Coryell County, we have a young black man starting a young Republicans chapter in our county, which says a lot. Because if you look at the population influx of Coryell County, it's like 85% white, I think. And you got this black man, educated black man, who wants to start a young Republican chapter. He's got my full support. Go for it, Cody. Go, go, go. All right, what are we looking like on time? It's already 1:05. Wow. Rob didn't tell me I was overtime. All right, so this is the time of day I got to let y'all go for right now. I'll cover this in the morning, but I just want to let you know that Valerie Jarrett, she's like the chief of staff of President Obama's presidential library. That monstrosity of a building that's going up and destroying everything inside in Chicago. It's gonna. How do I put this politely? It's going to be dedicated on June 19th. Juneteenth. Okay, Juneteenth is a Texas holiday initially when slaves were officially told that they were free in Galveston by General Granger, I believe his name was. All right. Somehow the nation took the holiday from Texas and made a national holiday. Well, what I'm getting at is Barack Obama is using that day to promote his presidential library. And if you know anything about the genealogy of Barack Hussein Obama, is that his dad is from Kenya. And I don't care if he's born in Hawaii. I don't care if he's born in Illinois. His mom was white. His dad was black, but his dad was from Kenya. He has no ancestry tied to slavery in our country, not one iota. And they're dedicating this monstrosity of a building on a date that's reserved for former slaves in our country. Talking about disrespecting Jesse Jackson, he just disrespected 13% of the population of the United States. And they are 13% of the population. If you're American, you're American. It doesn't mean if you're white, black, Latino, or Asian. It does not matter. You're American, you're American. All right? So I'm going to go back over that one later on. Oh, wow. Okay. So I am going to transition. Thanks a lot, Rob. I'm definitely on overtime. I'm going to go over a couple of things in premium in just a second. So if you're watching this, so if you want to look for me, this is where I'm at. Okay, these are my socials for X, Facebook, ScrewTube, and True Social. All right. So I am going to transition over to premium, and I'm going to go over some stuff for about election stuff. Okay, I wanted to cover concerning Arizona and about Iran. Okay, so let me put these back. I got them out in the wrong spot. So if you want to continue to watch this, go to rumble.com/premium code word of studio. So it's Rob, I can do it. Rumble.com/ okay, and the code word is okay. There's a studio. Okay, it gives you like $10 off for going on Rumble Studio. All right, and then so if you're watching, and when I go on the Rumble Studio, if you're not Rumble Premium member, you won't be able to listen. All right, and I will see y'all tomorrow morning at 6:30 or at noon, whichever you prefer. All right. So y'all have a great day, and I'm going to transition over the premium right now. And